Imagine if you was armed with the knowledge that the feminine aspect is wisdom. So now you know what to look for in a wife, a woman who has wisdom. And I mean, look around us. Look around. There's not many of that going on. Wisdom. Everybody's chasing after the next fad or trend. You see, everybody's doing things that are not wise. Why? Because we come from a system that taught us not to be wise. They taught us that we needed their education system to go get a job. That's not wisdom. That's not wise, because that's not what God gave us. Remember, wisdom is worth more than gold, silver, and any riches you got. See, when they told the story of Solomon when he became king and God asked him what he wanted, he said wisdom. This here, it really opens your eyes up to why they took this out, so that you don't see the power of both man and woman. So they had to choose one. They chose one and put the other one down, and you need them together. See, that man, Solomon, knew he needed wisdom. He needed that feminine aspect of knowledge and understanding and compassion. You have to go through something to accomplish something. Say it again. You have to go through something to accomplish something. Unfortunately, a lot of people are not willing to go through something to accomplish something. It's too hard. That's too much. I hear people say it all the time. Man, that stuff you do, I couldn't do that. Working that hard and making all those phone calls, get those loads. I can't do it. That's too much. Basically what they're saying, it's easier for them to go work for somebody and be told what to do. That's what's easy. I think they just be talking when they say that. They don't really understand what they're saying. It's like Christ said when they had him up there crucifying him, and he said, forgive them, Father. They know not what they do. And I'll say to that, forgive them, Father. They know not what they say. They don't know the consequences of their very words. They don't know. It's that simple. Do you realize that you're receiving your reward of every word that you utter out of your mouth? There's a saying in the church, power of life and death is in the tongue. And that is very true. The power of life and death is in your tongue. The power of success and failure is in your tongue, in the words you utter. Not just the words you utter, the words you think. Because the thinking of the words come before you actually speak it. You have to double down on it, meaning you have to contract with the word before you speak it, right? You think about it, hey, this is what I'm thinking, and you speak it. You think about it, then you decide to speak it. You create a contract with your consciousness. Oh, I accept what this is as the truth, and I'm going to speak it now so that I can solidify it and see that it comes forth. When you have problems, and they could be extreme, that is a great opportunity for you to really practice transcending that situation and work out not allowing it to bring you down consciously. That's the mission. That's the mission, to be able to navigate all of the challenges of this world that it may bring you and still be able to walk over it like Christ walked on water. Still be able to allow yourself to be sacrificed for the good of mankind. I'm not saying go allow people to nail you to a stake or anything like that. What I'm saying is, spiritually, even though these people, you might feel from a fleshly level that they deserve condemnation, you cannot condemn. Because once you don't allow yourself to pass judgment on them for their wrongdoing, and you look at it as simply as, forgive them, Father, they know not what they do. And honestly, so people are so indoctrinated into the opposer mindset, into the devil mindset, that what they do, although it may be wrong to some and most people, they really don't see it as wrong. They really can't see it because their mind is so clouded in that vibration that in that world they feel justified. You just so happen to be a casualty of their ignorance to their true divinity. Yeah, so I think the 24th, we're going to go visit Portugal, because actually, with all of the things that we're thinking about actually purchasing property outside the country, even may not even live here anymore in the States. Shoot, things are getting a little shaky. Who knows? But that's what we're doing. But see, I'm saying that to say this, you could do the same thing. The only reason why you may not be doing these things, because your consciousness not accepted the fact that you can do them. And that's why I'm talking about the economy of the mind. Because how you're living, what you're doing, what you finding yourself doing on a daily basis, or how you're living is based off the economy of your mind. So ask yourself the question. And this is a direct question. So ask yourself a question. Just take time this minute right now. Look at your situation. I'm sure most people listening to me, the only reason why you're listening to me because you want something different. You want something better. You want to feel better about yourself. You want to feel better about your life. You want to feel better about your life. You want to feel better about work, whatever that is, right? So there's always room for improvement or being better. So look at your situation and look at how it is and ask yourself a question. My current situation, why is it this way? Now, if you're answering that question saying, well, because I have this bad job, because I can't do this, saying a bunch of I can'ts and blaming reasons outside of you, things outside of you, then you are looking in the wrong direction. And that's why this situation is the way it is. Because the first place you need to check is your thought process. How do I view money? What do I think is a lot of money? What do I believe to be a lot of money? Peace. What's up, everybody? It's Sunday, November the 3rd, 2024. It's what, 2 months left? Less than 2 months. And we'll be in January all over again. All over again, we'll be in January. These days are just flying by consistently. So since the days are going by consistently, what has your consistency look like for this year? You know, you made a lot of promises to yourself. You didn't make it to me. You didn't make it to anyone else. Well, maybe you did. I don't know. But to someone else. But you can't fulfill a promise to someone else if you're not fulfilling the promises to yourself. You know, that's a key indicator of how consistent someone is going to be with you. Like how they're going to maintain in a relationship, business or personal, whatever way you want to look at it. The best indicator of knowing how that person is going to be with you is how consistent they are to themselves, how true they are to themselves. Because I can't be true to you unless I'm true to myself. And unfortunately, a lot of us put other people, things, situations first before we put ourselves first to figure out what what is my core values? What is my purpose? What am I here for? And the reason why we have these blockages mentally, and as your show title is fill the gap, while we have gaps in feeling well or feeling good about ourselves, because most of us really don't know what our core values are. What is our purpose for being? What is your goal? Now, some people say goal is I want to be rich, I want to be wealthy, I want to have a great relationship, I want to help people. Let's start with that one. I want to help people. I like helping. And this is a common thing when I do consultations and I talk to different people and I hear them say, I want to help people. I like helping people. And that's nothing wrong with that. That's great. But there's a gap there. Most of the people I talk to that say that, there is a huge gap. They haven't figured out how to help themselves. But yet they're learning how to help other people. I'm going to do this because I want to be a humanitarian. I want to do this and do that. Do y'all? I really have come to realize that a lot of people who talk like that, they want to help all of these people. are running from the one place where they really need to do the work themselves. If you study scriptures, any ancient text, most of the people that was able to help people spent a large amount of time by themselves before they was able to do it. Moses, right? Before he could help his brothers, his family in that famine, he was by himself. I mean, he was around other people, but he was by himself. Then he had killed a man, and then he went off for like 30 years and by himself because he had a lot of work to do because he had a bigger purpose in life. See, if you really want to help somebody or help a situation, fix yourself. Start there. Start right there where you are. If your finances ain't great, work on that. If your mental's not great, you don't feel great about yourself, work on making yourself feel good. What people do is they take outside things to disconnect it or to distract them from the real work they need. They'll spend a lot of time in entertainment, a lot of time in conversations just with this one, that one, in association with other people because they're running from the one place they need to be by themselves, figuring themselves out. Why do I do the things that I do? Why do I think the way I do? See, this is why I titled it Fill the Gaps. Because there's a lot of gaps in our lives that we're not working on, things that we run from in order to distract ourselves from the real work we need. The reason why we don't have like it's November 3rd. That could be a big reason why you're not where you need to be right now. Because you haven't done the work. The real work, the true work. Because your real purpose is to raise yourself up, renew yourself, not someone else. Yeah, that's helping others is a great thing. Giving to others is a great thing to do. But what can you give if your pots is empty? Now, on the other hand, helping people, if you go to like sometimes if you go into it with the purpose of helping people so you can learn something from that situation for yourself, that's very valuable. But what I run into a lot of times, people just run around, I'm helping, I'm doing this to do it, and then go home. And when there's no one there and they're alone with their thoughts, they're right back in that depressed state of mind. That feeling of being lost. And then when they get into that frame of mind, they look for something else to distract. They get on the internet, get on their phone, they make phone calls so they can talk to other people to distract them from themselves because they got big gaps. They don't have they're not full. See, I think it's about time that we start to realize that it gets really old. This up and down. This I feel good today and I don't feel good tomorrow. And that's what our church is giving us, right? All week, I hear people talking about, man, I can't wait to get to church because it's the only thing I got that can lift me up, which is great. They don't ever say, I don't, that me, I can lift myself up. They look at the church and things and people, call up someone, hey, lift me up. They don't say it like that, but in that conversation, they're looking for that. They don't know how to lift themselves up. True fulfillment comes from you learning how to fulfill yourself truthfully, not through deception and dishonest behavior. There's people out there that's seeking temporary pleasures by being deceitful, doing things that's dishonest and not very good for the overall good of their whole life existence. I'm talking about lifting yourself up in a way where it'll build you, and your work upbuilds the other people around you, not tear them down. Because if you're seeking entertainment and your entertainment is tearing someone else down, then something's going on at the expense of another person, of their time and their energy, then something's wrong. You're the dysfunctional one. If your entertainment comes at the expense, your pleasure comes at the expense of hurting people, then you are the problem in that situation. And usually, persons like that are the ones who have big gaps in their life, meaning they're looking for the next thrill, no matter what it is. They just, and it's all one, it comes from one source. It reminds me of the story of the woman at the well who came to the well and Christ was sitting there. He sent his apostles off because he foresaw that someone's going to come there that needed to hear something. She was coming to get water to temporarily quench her thirst. And he said, I can give you water that you can never become thirsty again. And it's like, what kind of well is this that I can't get thirsty because I got to come here? And she was like, who are you? He said, then he broke it down, what she was about. She had like 5 men in her life, 5 different men in her life. And she was like, who's this guy that could just speak over me like this? Who knows my business? And on my computer, I don't know why my computer just went. Oh, there we go. Um, so with a person like that, let's not look at so much what she was doing in her life. Just look at how many different energies she brought into her life. That was a person looking for fulfillment through people, through men. And the reason why she had so many is because it feel good over here, then go over there, feel good, and then don't feel good, go over here, don't feel good, then don't feel good. And it's a constant vicious cycle. So Christ said, I can give you water that you will never get thirsty again. Now she's thinking about actual water, like something to drink. Why would she think like that? Because she was on a physical mental plane, meaning her consciousness was at the level of physical existence. Because everything she was looking for was through a physical connection. She was totally disconnected from her spirituality. And this is what happens with us when we get disconnected from spirituality. We're going to connect to something. And most likely it's going to be something physical, stimulation. Everything, y'all realize if you look around you, everything in this physical plane is temporary. Things are born, they grow old, and they pass. They die. That's one of the lessons we are here to learn, that in this temporary physical existence, everything's temporary. Some things live longer than others. Relationships last long, and sometimes they don't last long. A lot of time, most time in this current environment, they don't last long. Why is that? It was simple. And Christ has said this one thing. I'm summarizing. He said, go sin no more. And then don't tell anybody. When you go, don't tell them you saw me. Keep this message to yourself. Why would he say, all the people here said, don't tell anybody. But they went and told people and spread out the good news to other people of their deliverance. Why do people go and share those experiences? Because they're looking for fulfillment and approval from people through the blessings that they got. So they got a gap there. They're empty. Because a full person don't need to tell people their business. I got to. They don't have to do that. He said, don't tell. The reason why he said, don't tell anyone is because you're not fully equipped and ripe enough to appreciate what I just said. You need to go off, hold this information, Meditate on it and work on it for yourself until you become full, until you become whole, till all the gaps are filled in. But yet we prematurely, we learn something, we go run off. I got to tell it, you're not fully grown yet in your spirituality. That's why it's better to work on yourself. If you want to help the world, deliver yourself first. Work on yourself. You can't, first of all, people have their own journey. They have their own process to live out. So you're not going to fast track that for them. You're not going to become to see that's kind of arrogant and presumptive of a person to think that they can make or help someone be saved. No, you can't. They have to save themselves through their different connections. Maybe something you say may give them a step towards that direction where they need to go. And let me remind you, we don't know which direction people need to go. I don't know where you need to go. All I know is this, and it's what Christ said, go and sin no more. What does that mean? Sin, it doesn't mean stop. He wasn't really telling her, stop messing with all of these 5 men. That's not the message he was sending. Don't go cuss them. That's not what he was saying. He said, go and sin no more, meaning recognize, wake up in your consciousness, your Christ consciousness, and realize who you really are. That's the problem. That's where the problem lies. The reason why her, like many others, run around and get with this one, that one, because they don't recognize the truth within themselves. They don't recognize the God within themselves. So they're looking for stimulation outside that temporarily and artificially feels good for the moment. But as soon, I can guarantee you, as soon as the act of what you're doing with that person is over, you're back to feeling like crap. And then you got to look for the next stimulation. You're on constant red alert, looking for the next high. Whether it be through your phone, your computer, conversations with people, meeting the next person. And this message ain't just, I use that woman as an example, but men and women alike have this same issue. And these issues is what's stopping you and stunting your growth spiritually and stunting your growth with your prosperity. Because just like you got baggage, spiritual baggage, physical baggage, traumas that you're dealing with, when you connect with someone else, you're bringing all that to the table and they're bringing all that trash to you too. That's why you have to consider yourself a temple. That's what God, Christ said, I could tear this body down in 3 days, I have it rebuilt. He was talking about the spiritual temple, his body, his spiritual body. You have to tear down 80%, I've been saying this for weeks, of where you are, who you are today to become that new Christ-minded person. That new level. I know a lot of times I talk about raising level and it has a lot to do with monetary gain and money. But the number one thing that needs to be raised up is your spiritual consciousness. Your Christ consciousness need to be raised up. Because through that, all wealth comes. Because who owns it all? Who created it all? God, right? He created it. So if you're aligned with him, it's automatic that you're going to have that. It's automatic that you're going to have the wealth. There's many examples of when people of the Bible align with God's consciousness, they stayed wealthy. And when they fell out of alignment with that consciousness, they became spiritually poor. Thus, the physical poor followed. Remember Job? They used the devil as a test, right? The devil, he was allowed to, mess with him. And they personified the devil in this story like it was an entity outside of Job that was causing him his issues. But really, the devil mind and the God mind was having a battle within Job himself. That was a battle that was going on between him, knowing where his good and came from, and then he seeds of doubt fell on him. And then his devil side started to speak and test him. And he started to see what he became fearful of. He even spoke of the very thing that I feared had come upon me. The very thing. And he said thing. I mean, he didn't really know what that thing was. He was, but then when he went through that trial and he realized, wait a minute, the source of all of my good, all of my greatness, all of what I have comes from one place. Me knowing where my true power is. Because his wife and the friends represented doubt within him. And they all, isn't that what happens to you when you're trying to get out of a place where you know is no good for you, meaning consciously you in a place where you're not doing well consciously, mentally. See, the physical conflict comes from one place, mental conflict. There got to be mental conflict first, then it births the physical. And you're trying to get out, and then you got all these people come in who want to put a battery in your back about the situation. Yeah, you should do this, you should do that. Let me remind you, you need to go off by yourself and deal with that on your own, because most people will not push you in the right direction or how to deal with your situation. First of all, you got your own unique path that you have to follow. Your own unique path. So no one person can give you that path. You have to know it. And the only way you're going to get it is by, in those gap periods, in that space of where you're not feeling well, is the that is time. That is the time to start meditating. And meditating doesn't mean sit in the chair and fold your arms and your legs and sit there and um and all of that. That's not, that's television. That's propaganda. Just because you have all these people talking about meditation doesn't mean that that's the only way. Meditation, because you meditated before just driving down the road. You took you an hour to get there. Next thing you know, you're there, and you're like, man, what happened? I don't even remember driving this way, because you was in a deep state of consciousness, deep state of meditation while you was driving. You can meditate wide awake. You can meditate while you sleep. You can meditate in just in a quiet place, which is great. You can meditate in a room full of people. Just think about it. You're in a place where you know the energy is dark, but at that time you can't leave, right? You got to be stuck there. Namely, the job you work in. How do you keep yourself mentally charged properly in a positive way in a place like that? You have to go into that secret place. There's one place people can't reach if you don't want them in there. Is your mind. The only way people get into your thoughts and your mind is if you allow them in, right? It's like you got vampires, right? The vampires can't come into your house unless you invite them in, right? A vampire is like one of the elite evil beings out there, right? That the horror movies portray. Right, but they got weaknesses, right? They got limits. And one of the limits is they can't come in and do any harm to you while you're in your home unless you invite them in. Or you leave your home and go into their realm at night while they're out, right? So it's the same way with your mind. People can't get into your consciousness unless you open it up for them. And the only way they can get into your consciousness and affect you in a negative way is if you got gaps in your consciousness, meaning you have not totally worked on and been prepared for these situations where this rise up and you can lock out your consciousness to keep them out. See, when you're dealing with people physically in a combative or in a negative way, y'all having conflict, right? That's the physical. The mental is the biggest, the best work, the biggest work. That's where you block them because people can act like that in front of you, and you could just, I'm not going to allow this person to control my reaction. I'm not going to allow this thing to control my reaction. I'm not going to allow this temporary money problem to knock me off course. Y'all realize any financial problem you have, it's all temporary. I don't care how large it is, right? First, you got to recognize why your money problems are there and then correct that. And the moment you realize that there really is no shortage, there really is, I'm not broke. I'm wealthy. Once you realize that, you just became wealthy in that in your consciousness, and therefore the physical got to align with that. It must align. The only reason why it's not aligning with that you at that time is because you have gaps. Meaning, you believe one day and have all of this faith about your money situation changing or will is the way you want it to be. And then the next day, you worried about it. And why is it? What happens? What happened? What happened the day before that now you worried about it? What came up that caused you to pay attention to it so much that you're in fear of your financial shortfall now? What happened? You allowed it in. See, I know I named the show Fill the Gaps, right? Fill those gaps, right? But there really isn't any gaps. Where there is nothing, something will fill that space, whether you do it purposefully or not. That's what happens, right? When you, what I was just talking about, you feel great. I'm making it happen, and then the next day you don't feel so great. You just fill the gap with the idea that you lack something, or you're not, things are not working out. You just filled that gap. When the gap came, you filled it with something. So what I'm saying is, you need to be mindful of those spaces in between your feel good and when you not feeling good, because you chose to fill that space up with something negative. And what you have to do is be mindful and be repetitive. How you felt yesterday, you need to duplicate it today. So you have to look at, how did I start my day today? What is it that I watched? Who was it that I talked to that got me on this path of feeling so bad about myself? What thought came in that I allowed, that vampire, that devil? What was it in my mind that switched? And then you have to go back to where you felt great. What switched you to that? And you have to, you literally have to take these moments when you're feeling great and write it down. Hey, I feel great today. And what led me to this feeling great? What was it I did today that made a difference? Right? You got to be a doctor of your own spirituality. How do doctors figure out what's wrong with you? You tell him what's wrong with you. Then he writes it down. Yeah, he said this. And then he said, well, go try this and let me how it work. Right? And he don't really know because he can't get in your head. So you got to tell him. So cut out the doctor and you be the doctor. Meaning you write down and journal, what is it today that got me feeling so great? Why am I in this space today? And be mindful. Well, yesterday I woke up, I got inspired, and I actually did something about it. I didn't lay in bed and go back to sleep and forget about it. I got up and wrote it down, and I chose to play things that align with my spirituality, being in higher consciousness. I listened to maybe some Reverend Ike. I read a good book. I had some good memories about some things. So you took a note of that, right? Now today I'm feeling like nothing's working. What got me thinking that way? What was it? Did I watch a TikTok video that was negative? Did I watch a show that was negative? Did I listen to someone? Did I have a conversation? And you will be able to pinpoint. See, that's what was Christ was telling the woman, don't sin no more. Go home, take that bucket of water, sit with yourself, and figure out why you are doing what you're doing with your life right now. Don't go tell the priest. Don't go tell the people. Don't tell, because all they're going to do is give you bad advice because they still trying to figure it out. Right? He really was saying, go home. Don't sin anymore. Stop thinking that way about yourself. Think of better things. Think that life is better than what you got right now. You can make it better by the choices you make, who you listen to, what you do with your time, how you fill up your empty time. See, when there's times when you feel like you have nothing to do, there's always something to do. And I'm not talking about physically. There's always something consciously you can do. If you just get in the habit of just practicing keeping yourself in check, you have just made the world a better place. Because most people are not even conscious of even thinking about keeping a watch on their thoughts. They're not. You see? So there was Psalms 141 says, set a guard over my mouth, Lord. Keep watch over the door of my lips. See, that's a mantra. You have to set a watch over your lips and what you say. But really, that's good and all. But really, you have to keep a watch of what you think. And what you're saying, it ain't so much what's coming out of here. It's what's coming in here because it can't get to here unless it's already in your mind. You can't utter it. You have to, in order to utter any words, you must think it first. You must contemplate it first. You must become conscious of it first. Then you speak the words, and then your words become flesh in that situation. So take a moment and look at where you are right now. What has become flesh for you right now? And if it's something you don't like to see, that means there was something you were thinking or saying in there that brought it to you. So when you're feeling in these, when you're in this space where you don't feel yourself, you feel like things are not going wrong, going right, you think the weight of the world is on your shoulder. I just wrote out a few points. It says immediately renew your thoughts to good thoughts. Immediately rebuke those thoughts. Do not give any time, do not contract with thoughts of lack or negative thoughts. Do not contract with them. They will pop up. I'm not saying that they're not going to show up. Yes, they're going to show up. Now, it's what you do with it when you show up. It's just like somebody come to your house unexpectedly causing you a problem. What you going to do? You going to let them in? Or you going to tell them, hey, you can't come in with that? Or you go come back when you in a better place. Right? You're not about to disturb my peace. See, we're so mindful of keeping other people in check to disturb our peace. But we never check ourselves for this the peace we disturbing for ourselves. through our thoughts. What kind of emotions are rising up in you when you're thinking about things? And if those thoughts are getting you angry, excited, anxious, those are thoughts you need to totally get rid of. You need to treat it like someone coming to your house trying to get in and cause you some drama. But how often does that happen? That someone actually comes to your house, knock on the door to try to disturb your peace. Very rare. Hardly ever. But yet, you allow your own mind to run rampant, uncontrolled, like a dog off a chain, and you don't put it in check. Oh, know what we do? And most of these negative thoughts be about other people, right? Oh, he did this. He said that. I'm going to tell him about himself. You just contract with the problem and the drama. And you go run. Pick up the phone. Yo, what? And you come off hostile. Now you got drama. Now you want to blame it on that person. But who made the decision to follow the drama? To lead with drama? Who made that decision? See, the people knocking on the door, that person that's knocking on the door trying to get in and disturb your peace is you. It's me. It's me. I'm the one. You're the one disturbing your own peace. No, but they did do that. He lied to me. Okay, I didn't say they didn't lie to you, but it's what you choose to handle. How you choose to handle that lie. That's going to determine how you feel about it. You can choose to feel. You can choose your feelings, right? You know that. You have a choice on your feelings. People run around here acting like they don't have a choice how to feel on something. You could choose to be happy, sad, depressed. You choose. You have a choice. But see, this world has programmed us to be on remote control, meaning be automatic jumping at stuff. Do y'all understand that that's your real work? That is the true work that you're working on. That is your purpose. That is your calling, your Christ calling. Christ went through childhood with different challenges, right? They didn't really, in the current Bible we have today, they didn't really discuss all of that. Because if you read some of the ancient texts that talk about Christ, because there is books out there that talk about Christ before he became 30 years old. And he was something else. He had to hone that power he was born with. But really, that story, if you read that story, it's really about you and me, how we are. We got to hone our Christ consciousness and become mature. And knowing that we have power and we can use that power for good or for evil. And Christ was challenged with that. You know, there's books out there. Now, if you really want to read the story of Christ when he was a kid, um, the Reluctant Messenger website has that book. It's a book on there. You can actually read it on the website, or you can buy it, one or the other. And it talks about Christ before he became anointed, and be as we know it today, the story we know it today. Because y'all never thought about that. Like, why they only talk about Christ when he was a couple of times when he was young, when he was left at the temple, they went home and found he wasn't around, and when he was born, and that's pretty much all they talk about. And then next year at 30, he gets baptized by John, and then from there he preaches for 3 years. That's all you know about it. And this is the thing that amazes me from the Christian point of view is that people purport to be Christians, but they never really ask that question. How does we only got really basically 3 years of information about Christ that impact the world? Is there, shouldn't be something else out there? That's just questions, right? So really that story is about us and the challenge we're gonna meet from a baby until we become adults. How we gonna handle opposition. And that's your work. You can have a desire. That's how you help meet humanity, by making yourself a better person. That's key, right? So Christ had to go through his youth, became an adult, got baptized in the Holy Spirit by water and Holy Spirit. Dove came down and said, "This is my son, my beloved." You know, basically saying he's the anointed one. Then he preached, healed, fed, and then he had the ultimate test. All the people he helped, fed, was the same ones who came to court and testified against him. And what did they testify? That he's saying he's God, he's God's son, he's this and that. All of those stories are allegories, right? And it represents you and your journey, your process. Because all of those people that said he wasn't, or rebuked him and made fun of him, saying he wasn't God or he wasn't God's son, those people represent the opposite mindset that you have about yourself. The refusal to call yourself the Christ. The refusal to accept that God is within you. That's what those people represent. And then you crucify that idea about yourself. Christ had accepted his mission that he would be crucified before the world, and then he would be raised up. The only way you're going to be raised up is once you crucify the old you and become the Christ, and then you raise up. You'll be in darkness for a few days. Why is the darkness for a few days? Because you're still trying to come to terms with the Christ mind. And once you're reborn into this Christ mind, then you are fully lifted up into the heaven, meaning you have really elevated your consciousness to the level of Godship. Because in this process, in this world, in this realm, they programmed us not to accept that. You're just a human. You just this. You that. You that. You're a lawyer. You're a doctor. You're a teacher. You this. They gave you all these identities. They gave you a name, and you identified with those low level ideas about yourself, and not really was informed or made. It was never made known to you that you were bigger than all of those things, bigger than all of those labels that you were given. And because we identify with these low level ideas of who we are, is reason why people steal, hurt other people, become manipulators, narcissists, dishonest, because they're operating in the lower realms of hell. See, hell is a state of mind just as much heaven is a state of mind. In order for Christ to do what he did, he had to constantly remind himself to stay in the heavenly state of mind, to stay in that Christ state of mind. Now, I can go pull out a bunch of scriptures and read it and break it all down, but we're not going to do that today. I could. Because there's many scriptures that said you must worship God in spirit and in truth. And then they say, no, you must worship God in flesh, because the flesh will lie to you. And just like your flesh will lie to you, other people's flesh will lie to you to get what they want from you. See, you got to recognize who's talking to you when you're having conversation. what part of that person is talking to you? Is it their flesh talking to you, or is it their spirit talking to you? Well, that's a whole nother lesson. That's a whole nother topic. Who are you talking to? The spirit or the flesh? And let's make it personal. What part of you is talking to you? Your flesh or your spirit? Which one? Y'all saw those old shows. Some of you may be too young to remember those little commercials. You had the little devil on one side and the angel on the other side, talking in both sides of the ear. Which one is the dominating conversation? Who's having all the say in your head? Which one, the devil or God? I'm just making a note. And before I go, 2, practice habits that promote healthy thinking. You will not have healthy thinking if you got bad habits. Fellas, it's what, football season now, basketball season. Is you spending a lot of time doing all of that? I'm gonna have to say this. If your finances is not where it needs to be, you sitting around broke, ain't figuring out how to pay things, you can't pay, take care of the family, and you're having issues, and you're watching a game, watching millionaires bounce a ball, millionaires throw a ball, then you are being foolish. Because the time you take to do that, you need to be figuring out how to correct your money situation. And your money situation is directly tied to your spirituality situation. Take that time, that little extra time. Oh, we got to get a break. You done had enough breaks. Time's not, you're not going to get today back. All you have is right now. I mean, with the level of way things work, you can always watch it later. Stop going down to them places. If your life is not where it need to be, why are you hanging out in places that don't contribute to where you want to be? Study the people that's successful, that really have, made some success out of themselves. What did they do? They say all the same thing. They had to cut a lot of stuff out of their life. And yes, people can be a problem in your life and can be a big part of your lack of success. But the biggest reason why people don't success, it ain't people. It's you. You're the hindrance. You're the one choosing to go over there, do this, and do everything else but work on yourself. And after you get your sheep thrills off, you feeling bad again. Number 3, trick yourself into believing in yourself. If you don't have full belief in yourself, fake it. Make believe. Do like children do. Make believe and say things good about yourself. It's better than the alternative. Way better. It's better to fake it until you, because if you do it enough, you're going to believe it. You're going to have faith in it. In your words that are coming out, you'll have faith in it. Just say good things about yourself. We spend a lot of time greeting people and giving good greetings. When the last time you gave yourself a good greeting? Like, look yourself in the mirror. Even if you don't have a mirror, just said something great to yourself. When the last time you did that? Because that could be part of the reason why you woke up depressed this morning. I don't know. 4, strengthen your faith in God. Strengthen your faith in the God in you. That aligns with number 3. You got to strengthen it. It's like a muscle. You got to work on it. And guess what? You've been working on it all your life, but you've been working on it in a negative way. You have strengthened your faith in the fact that you are not God in the flesh. You are not the Christ. That's where you strengthen your faith at. Now I'm saying do the opposite. Strengthen your faith there. Because then you'll realize you don't need anybody to call you and lift you up. You don't need to go there. You lifting yourself up. And another good example that Christ showed, when it was time for him to go to this ultimate test, his apostles was gone, watching from the sideline. His mama and Mary was watching from the sideline. He was on his own. So don't get upset because no one's picking up that phone and it's good when people do it. I'm not saying don't accept it, but don't be down about it because you have the greatest promoter in your life. And that's you, the God in you. You are your greater promoter. You are your great, what they call, motivational speaker for you is you. Everyone else is secondary. Everyone else is just signposts to lead you to the one place you need to go within the God within you. Y'all understand that everything you look at in existence, everything you look at in existence is a form of God. Everything. So when you look at people, you're looking at God. Looking at your children, you're looking at God. And when you're looking at yourself, you're looking at God. And if you see everything like that in existence, that's going to make your world, the world has just become a better place the moment you've taken on that consciousness. Right? All right. All right. Who's out there? Before I go, let me give my shouts out. Luke and Apple says, peace to the gods and much light to all. Hindsight Radio says, peace and prosperity, all. That's me telling you guys. DJB Thunder says, morning, everyone. Asim Shabazz says, peace to all. Indie Circle Ministry says, peace, my brother. Same thing back to you. DJB Thunder says, peace, love, prosperity, and extreme wealth to everyone. In La Vida, peace. And thank you for the birthday gift. I really appreciated that. Thank you. In La Vida. Oh, peace, Almighty, and the peace to the chat. Sunday services in session. Yes. Sea King Babe says, peace, everyone. Indie Circumstance said, great show, my brother. Thank you. And heaven is what you make it. Hell is what you go through. Exactly. And Road Warrior forgot to say peace to all. Thank you for that. I just want to thank all my regular and faithful listeners. I don't think I say that enough that I really appreciate you guys supporting me all these years. I mean, next year is going to be really 10 years of me on the air. 10 years. In time, it don't seem like it's been 10 years. And I'm just getting started. I started out one way. I'm not, what I want to say is this is the way it was always was supposed to be. This was my vision from the very beginning. Actually, I think my vision, where I wanted to start thing was limited, but hey, it's getting bigger. It's big. Like I could talk about all the other stuff, discharge, debt, and I feel great about that, but I don't get the fulfillment as when I talk about these things. See, that's the charge. And as I always say, I'm talking to myself. You just hearing conversations with me, talking to the God within me to remind myself where I need to be. When I say you, I'm talking about me. I'm looking at the game. I may be looking at, I'm talking at you, and if it helps and it works and you could use what I'm saying, that's great. But there is no greater word that you will ever get outside of you than the one that you can give to yourself inside of you. And with that being said, peace, prosperity, and to all, it's peace, prosperity, and extreme wealth to all. And you guys have a great rest of your day. If you have problems, turn your back on them. Turn away from them. Stop looking at the problem and look away to the solution. Too many times we spend a lot of time saying things like, this ain't right. Why? Why? Okay, it's happening. Once you accept it, okay, I'm in the middle of this. I'm in the middle of this line then. Let me not be so concerned with this bad situation and be more concerned with how I'm thinking and saying, okay, this is done. This is taken care of. I'm away from this. I can handle this. Everything's gonna be good. What's the alternative? Well, that's wishful thinking. That's fantasizing. Well, before something happens to you, it's a fantasy, good or bad. It's an idea. When you have an anticipation, oh, if this bad's gonna happen, it hasn't actually happened to you yet. You have an idea that it will be bad, and you choose to participate anyway, and it becomes bad because you already had determined that to be bad. You are right. Yes, if you say something is bad, it is bad. But if you say something is good, it is good according to your faith, according to your belief. Things are measured out to you.